Back home now, and it's a year since Australia's Black Summer, the unprecedented bushfires that burned through 5.5 million hectares and left billions of animals dead or displaced. Over the next few weeks, many of the communities affected will stop to remember. And in tonight's special report, we revisit 3 of the hardest hit.
It's nearly Christmas in Mallacoota. This time of year will be very difficult for communities like this one as people remember the trauma they went through and what they lost in the bushfires.
33 people died around the country, 2 of them here on Kangaroo Island. Alongside those tragedies, towns were devastated. The natural environments that we live in were decimated, and it's feared some animal populations might not recover.
But people are coming together. The debris is being cleared, ready to rebuild, with a long road still ahead. Many say their communities are stronger and there's optimism for the future.
Whether that's in Mallacoota
or on Kangaroo Island
or here in Cobargo. Tonight we'll look at how these 3 communities are going 1 year after the Black Summer fires.
Cobargo is a community of fewer than 800 people on the south coast of New South Wales. The scars on the main street are a constant reminder of last summer, when fires roared out of the forest west of the town on New Year's Eve. Even the most well-prepared were caught by surprise.
It came a lot quicker and with far more ferocity and fury than anybody had anticipated.
Helen Schaefer and her husband Wayne fought for hours to save their timber house. When the front finally passed, Wayne was temporarily blinded. The drive to hospital brought the devastation home. Hundreds of homes destroyed and hundreds of animals killed in the blaze.
Most were dead, but they were in piles. They'd been running from the fire, but the fire was so quick they couldn't outrun it, and they were in a V shape, stacked on top of each other.
The small community suffered tragedies. Dairy farmer June Tarleton's father, Ross Rickson, was one of 4 people killed.
My dad was an iconic Australian bushman. I'm proud of that. One of the great things is that he doesn't have to come back and see the bush as it is, because I think that would have broke his heart. When I look along the ridges and I see the dead trees, I can't comprehend how it's ever going to grow back.
A year after losing her husband Patrick and his father Robert, Renee Solway is finding her own way of moving forward.
The first hot day was difficult for me, and then you think about, also this time last year, what you were doing and how you weren't touched then.
She's opened her own hairdressing salon in town, finding comfort in making other residents feel better about themselves.
If I can provide a service that brings that to people, it really makes me happy in one part of my life.
I think time is what's going to do the healing, and everything to rebuild is taking time.
The paddocks around Cobargo are vivid green after years of crippling drought, but the tragedy of the fires will be written in the landscape for years to come.
On an island incinerated by fire, signs of life are also emerging.
We have picked up some pretty amazing threatened species that have survived in some of these really burnt areas, but our biggest work now is trying to protect what's left while it's regenerating.
Fire tore through 2/3 of Kangaroo Island, claiming the lives of Dick Lang and his son Clayton, destroying nearly 90 homes and killing about 1 million animals. This area used to house the island's biggest Dunnart population. Numbers have declined since the fires, but the nocturnal mammal has now been caught on camera.
Oh, there we go. It's going to take a long time. There may be species that aren't going to bounce back, but we just don't know that yet.
Hope of resuming a normal life is now on the horizon for many Kangaroo Island locals, with new homes nearing completion.
Yeah, it would be very nice.
There was a lot of months there that we felt like we weren't getting anywhere, but the last 3 months, I suppose, we've come in leaps and bounds, and yeah, been a lot of support and help out here.
Lily Buick had no idea the fire was literally on her doorstep when she was home alone. There were no evacuation orders, and it was a chance phone call to a neighbour that saved her life. A year on, as the couple prepares to bring a baby into their new home, concerns around poor communication and lack of warnings are heightened.
She rang me screaming because she couldn't see the road, and yeah, she just got out, so I was lucky. I was lucky more people didn't die really.
As the dust settles on a rough year for John Simons, rebuilding his home, shearing shed and farm, he also wants to see change.
Yeah, if I'm sounding pretty peed off, spot on I am. Didn't need to be.
John Simons is calling for permanent fire breaks in Flinders Chase National Park, where a lightning strike ignited the fire. The Bushfire Royal Commission also recommended better fuel reduction, something John Simons says could have saved many properties.
This is a devastating thing to happen to anybody, but to not learn some lessons and do something better, that's sacrilege.
The Kangaroo Island community is adamant that a fire of that ferocity, which caused this much devastation, cannot happen again, and that steps must be taken to reduce that risk, a feeling echoed around the nation.
The people of Malakuta in Victoria's east never want to go through the horror of last summer's fires again. There's reminders of the devastation everywhere, and the memories of the town's dramatic evacuation that remain vivid. People feared for their lives, and they had no choice but to flee to the water.
What was really lucky was the fact that no one died.
Justin Brady was at sea in a canoe as the fires closed in. He offered a makeshift safety raft to 2 American tourists he'd met in the mayhem.
It was quite terrifying just seeing the whole story unfold in terms of the visual, from it going to a clearish morning to, in the space of, say, 17 minutes, going quite dark.
Jan Gilbert was on that foreshore and is still haunted by it.
So here comes the fire. Apocalyptic, so that's probably the best word to describe it. I was really freaked out by what would happen when 4,000 people tried to get into the water all at once, because that's what would have had to happen. What's left of my bedroom.
She returned to find her house destroyed. I met her hours after she'd discovered it.
Over half of my life has gone.
Almost 12 months ago, this inlet here was a surreal picture. About 500 metres offshore was a Navy vessel here to rescue people. But you couldn't see it because it was so hazy, and that smoke was making it hard for people to breathe. It's likely the 1,100 residents of Malakuta will never forget that, but they're proud of the town's resilience and they're eager to move on. The physical recovery could take years, but this summer the town is alive again. The estuary is bearing fish, wildlife dots the golf greens, surfers are carving waves, and campers are starting to feel the coveted foreshores. What's compelled you to remain in Malakuta?
Oh, because I love Malakuta.
Someone said to me, I guess now that you've lost your house, you'd probably want to move, and if anything, it's made me want to stay here more.
This will be a difficult time for these communities and many others that suffered over the Black Summer. People want changes and to make sure lessons have been learned. But with resilience and a collective strength and optimism, they're also looking ahead.